Good morning, Year 4. It's Wednesday, the 27th of January 2020. You'll need a fresh new page in your book. Write down the long date, please. And the English LO today is to use what I have read in my writing. So you need to underline the title, or the LO, sorry. While you're doing that, you can have a look at this picture, which is taken by one of Howard Carter's team of Egyptologists. This is the seal on the door they'd uncovered when they went down the steps. They sifted away all the sand that had been there for thousands of years, and underneath it they found that there was a seal on the door that had been unbroken, which hopefully meant that nobody had got there before then. So this is the actual seal. You can see there's a stamp on it. And this is the knot that was tied by whoever last left the tomb thousands of years ago. Just pause this while you're finishing to write your LO and date. Right, let's have a look at what you did yesterday. Obviously I can't see it unless you photographed it and sent it in, but you can go through it with me. So get a green pen if you have one. If not, don't worry, just go through and make any corrections that you need to. So the first thing was to write down the date. Was when we're doing a diary entry, that's important. So I've got the 4th of November 1922. And Dear Diary, that's how we start, with the comma. Could this be the greatest day in my life? With tears of joy in my eyes, and I've got my comma and my fronted adverbial there, I realise today that I may have found King Tut's tomb at last. I tried not to show my emotion to my team of dedicated Egyptologists, so I've got some historical detail there. But when I saw the doorway covered with unbroken seals, again, historical detail, tick, hopefully you got things like that in yours. The emotion was so great. Now I'm moving on to my second paragraph. In wonder and awe, I ask myself, could this really be the end of my life's work? If you manage to put a question in, then great, that always makes it more interesting. Tomorrow, when we go back, will I find that it was all a dream, or that someone else has been there before me? We have moved many tons of sand and rock and spent years of our lives to get here. Okay, some more historical detail there. But I believe we're now on the brink of solving the mysteries of Tutankhamun. And then I've put his initials at the bottom, H.C. Howard Carter. So you can use that to go through your own work. Did you put in some historical detail? If not, you could do that now. You could use mine or use your own. Did you use paragraph breaks? Did you use a date, Dear Diary? And did you manage to always use first person, so I or we, instead of they? So have a look now, pause this while you're doing it and go through and mark. So we know that he found the tomb on the 4th of November 1922. Now I'm going to carry on reading. He desperately wanted to open it, but instead sent a telegram to Carnarvon, who was in England at the time, so that he too could be there when it was opened. To Lord Carnarvon, from Howard Carter, at last have made wonderful discovery in Valley, a magnificent tomb with seals intact. Have recovered same for your arrival. Congratulations. Remember why he's saying congratulations, because it's Lord Carnarvon who's paid for this to all be possible, so it's his discovery too. Lord Carnarvon arrived in Egypt with his daughter Lady Evelyn on the 23rd of November. They were thrilled when they saw that some of the seals on the door clearly stated the name Tutankhamun. However, they were disappointed to see that the door had previously been opened and reclosed, presumably by tomb raiders. Beyond the door, they saw a sloping corridor filled to the ceiling with stone chippings. Carter had these chippings removed, which revealed a second doorway. And when I was reading this, I just thought that was a long time to wait. So Howard Carter found the door with the unbroken seal on the 4th of November, and Lord Carnarvon and Lady Evelyn arrived on the 23rd of November. So he had to wait all that time before he could go any further in this amazing discovery. Now, in that time, he would have had the doorway guarded all the time in case other people had heard about this discovery and came to raid the tomb. But he must have been incredibly anxious and excited. After years and years of looking, he'd made the discovery, but he couldn't go in there yet. So what feelings do you think Howard Carter had? I'd like you to just take a moment to write down the feelings. Maybe you could do a spider graph with about 6 or 8 legs. Write down feelings on waiting in the middle, and then the feelings around the outside. So I might be thinking things like anticipation or frustration, maybe even fear. So have a go at writing down some of the things you think. Pause this while you do it. Last, we come to the opening of the tomb. Carter made a tiny hole in the doorway and pushed in a lighted candle. Carnarvon, waiting patiently, could bear it no longer and asked, "Can you see anything?" "Yes," Carter answered simply. "Wonderful things." They made the hole bigger and scrambled down into what was to be called the antechamber. By the flickering light of the candle, shadows danced on the walls, showing hundreds of things. Gold-covered couches in the shape of giant animals, chariots, statues of the king, caskets, vases, black shrines and one with a gold snake peeking out, an alabaster cup, bouquets of flowers, beds, chairs, boxes. Now here you can see a quote from Howard Carter. We know it's a direct quote, something he actually said, because we've got the quotation marks here. "The day of days, the most wonderful day I have lived through." We could just take a moment to imagine what it must have been like to walk into a treasure trove like that, full of things that people hadn't seen for thousands and thousands of years. Right, so here's your task. We're going to follow on from the diary yesterday. The date I want you to write on your diary this time is the 23rd of November 1922. This is the day that Lord Carnarvon and Lady Evelyn stood there as Howard Carter broke through and finally saw the tomb, or the antechamber, actually, not the tomb, but the antechamber full of treasure. This is what he called the day of days, the most wonderful day I've lived through. And as you can see, I've used that next to the date. So this is an example of how we're going to fulfill our LO today, which is to use what we've read in our writing. So I'm using this quote already, and you can do that too. So you can put that next to the date for the diary entry. Then you start Dear Diary, just like before. And don't forget your comma. I'm going to change to red because you can see it more easily. So these are the things you need to remember. Okay, here's what I want you to start with if you're spicy. "With trembling hands and racing heart, I peered through the small hole we had made and saw..." Now I want you to finish that paragraph. So if you're spicy, that's the sentence starter you can use. You don't have to use it, you could do your own work, but what I want you to do is make sure you have a fronted adverbial with those feelings words, feelings vocabulary, just like yesterday. If you're doing spicier, then I'd like you to start with this one. "With anticipation so great that I could hardly breathe, I held out my lantern and..." And again, I want you to continue the paragraph, talking about what he was doing, what he could see. If you're spiciest, I would like you to use this one, or do your own. "In barely contained excitement, Carnarvon and Lady Evelyn watched as I'm going to describe what happened and what was seen." That would be the first paragraph. In your second paragraph, I want you to use what you've read today to put in some detail. So here we've got some information about what was in there. Gold-covered couches in the shape of giant animals, shrines, caskets, which is kind of boxes full of treasure or precious things, maybe even body parts, Bouquets of flowers, I'm really intrigued by that. How could they have lasted so long? And furniture, boxes, beds, so all sorts of things he would have needed in the next life. And all incredibly ornate, golden, shining treasure. So I want you to write at least 2 paragraphs for your diary, just like you did yesterday, talking about this day of days, this wonderful discovery. And again, you're pretending to be Howard Carter. You need to use detail from the reading today. You need to write in first person. You need to think about paragraph breaks. I want you to put in those feelings words, the feelings vocabulary. And I also want you to make sure that you're using commas and other punctuation so that when you read it back, it all makes perfect sense. Okay, good luck with that task. I hope you enjoy it, and I will speak to you again tomorrow.